Appreciate you guys being here. It was good compete day for us. A little bit less work for the first couple groups today, but heavy in the game situation. Tying some special teams into it. Got some 2-minute drills, some 4-minute drills. You had officials out. Just making sure that we're clean in our function of throughout the course of the game. Tried to create some timing situations where we had to be efficient just in our communication as a staff, where we had to go out there and execute as a team. I thought for the most part, guys were able to take things that we've walked through, things that we talked about, and apply it well in those moments. But got a lot of good work for guys that are newcomers, guys that are kind of in the depth, that are trying to show that they're ready to help make an impact. And I thought there was some good performances, there were some explosive plays, really on both sides. Some guys that really got to continue to elevate as they're going through these next couple of weeks of practice. But I thought all in all it was today accomplished what we needed to accomplish, and be a lot of good film for us to watch and be able to go off of. But we've been able to accomplish a lot in these first 2.5 weeks of fall camp, and I think we've got a great sense of kind of where we are, and the guys that are going to put themselves in a really good position to play here on the 30th. And now it's time to continue to elevate our game efficiency, communication, and be ready for whatever we might see here when Alabama comes into town. So definitely proud of the work that our guys have put in, and I thought today was a very effective day.
First question will be Chris.
When you return to the field, do you turn full-fledged towards Alabama, or is it still kind of a mix of preseason?
There'll be a couple, probably one day that I want to hit probably more special teams situations that could arise. There's still a couple units that we just need to finalize. I wanted to get to where we are today. We'll be able to come out of this weekend and have a pretty good sense of the guys that will be active and ready to roll in the game, and make sure that our depth chart on special teams is where it needs to be, and be able to tie that together with with some of those specific units. And so so we will have Monday will be a special teams emphasis, but also get an opportunity to continue to clean up on some of the we'll have another 2-minute situation. We'll have a couple other. We'll give a brief introduction into Alabama, and then come Tuesday, it's game week in our mindset. We're gonna go and continue to focus. We'll have our speed. We'll still get good on good speed work, just like we've always done throughout the course of the week of practice. And then there obviously be a huge focus on what we might see from our first opponent.
Liam?
You mentioned explosive plays on both sides of the ball. Anybody in particular that really stood out, and there have been guys making these plays consistently that you've seen the last few weeks?
Yeah, I thought when we got into some of the live periods, I thought Tate Kelsey hit a big touchdown today. He's been limited a few times during camp, but he's a guy I'm excited about. We'll see exactly what that role is going to look like here early in the season. But he got opportunity, and I thought he did a really nice job. With that, Charles Lester. I saw him flash on a couple plays today. It was good. We got Gavin Blackwell's kind of been he's been limited for about the last week and a half, 2 weeks, and so today was the first day that he got back out into a team setting. Was able to do some good things. Landon Thomas said we had a kind of a late summer injury that has had him limited leading up to basically today was his first time getting out there, and he made a couple of spectacular plays. In the work that we had, you really feel in the presence. I think Jason Jenkins is continuing to you see the confidence that's growing in him. I really like what I'm seeing from our linebacker position. Some young DBs that are trying to establish themselves and put themselves strong in the rotation. And so it's been good work. But I thought there were some good plays that showed up today.
Brendan? From a health standpoint, as you guys are kind of closing the chapter on camp, how are you doing? Is there anyone who you know right now wouldn't be available for?
No, I mean, right now, there'll be a couple that'll probably be game week, thought process. Squirrel had something that, came up, so we're feeling very confident that he will be available, but he'll probably be limited here this next week. Kevin Wynn will be, he's one that, we'll see exactly where things go with that, but that could be one that could stretch, a little bit. Had something happen here this last week, but, we'll kind of see as it goes. I like where we're heading, with our team from a health standpoint, and we'll be able to get a couple guys back today. I think we'll plan to get a few more guys, back to full participation. But even in the limited return to play, I mean, it's been good to see where they're at. So, expecting, I know with Brock, he's been limited throughout fall camp, but expecting him, this week, and having him back in the mix will be good. Been really pleased with what I've seen out of that room in general. I think Tommy's to continue to grow his confidence in what he's doing, his operation. Has made some great throws, some really nice plays. Just in general. I think Kevin Sperry, with the extra reps that he's been able to get through fall camp, has really also accelerated his process of just understanding, and really pleased with what I'm seeing from him as well.
Ira?
When we were talking to Coach Sertan a couple days ago, he said that the competition at corner is still ongoing. Is that would you qualify that as a good thing, that you've got a lot of guys competing and can play, or is it more of a concern that it hasn't?
No, I mean, I think there's been, in all reality, like, we've had some really good corners here, and even with the guys that have been the surefire starters. I mean, Zari Thomas's freshman year came in and played over 400 snaps, for our team, and so you're gonna need guys that put themselves in position to come in and help impact our football team. And I think that we've seen some guys that are making a great push. And you have Q, you got Jabril, who been in the program, have been able to play, have been able to do some good things. You got I mentioned Charles, Kai Bates, guys that are developing. And you look at Jerry. Jerry's got a lot of experience, and I think he's kind of put himself in a position where that's a guy that's really established as. I mean, he's got a chance to be a top playmaker in this defense. But we're gonna play. We're gonna play a couple of them, and so I think that there is a healthy competition, and then seeing guys like Shamar's come in and been able to really do some good things. And today I wanted to see some more extensive work from him, and I thought there's one play that I'd like to be better in, but there's I've seen a lot of great flashes from him, and I think he's going to be somebody that as a true freshman is going to get a chance to help our team. So it's just what guys are defining their roles, and there is a lot of competition, which is a good thing for us. And we'll see who continues in the next couple of weeks to separate themselves. And that's going to show up in the overall snap count.
We go to Matt Furrow on your left.
You started talking about Alabama. How do you kind of prepare for a quarterback who's never started and doesn't have that much film out there? Do you look at high school film, or how do you kind of?
Yeah, I mean, he's played a little bit, but I mean, you always take a look at at any previous experience on a field, and as a high school quarterback, you'll take a glimpse of that. But I mean, he's been in their program for a good while. He's developed. I mean, he is you got a lot of respect for Ty. When I was at Memphis, obviously his dad was coach, up at UT Martin, a great coach. He's a football family. I mean, he's a really good football player, and he's kind of waited his time and for the opportunity. And so I've got a good sense of how talented he was coming out, and I know they're really pleased with the way that he's developed.
Chris?
What position needs to take the biggest step forward from a depth standpoint in the next 2 weeks?
I think I like the strides we've taken, in both of the offensive and defensive line. I think that guys are showing, that we have some versatility, but we also have some guys that I think got a chance to be, A players, and, but to be able to have a good rotation there, we know it's gonna show up in that first game. I mean, you gotta go out there and, it's gonna be a 3:30 kickoff, and we're gonna get as many plays as we can get out of it, out of each guy, and, that conditioning level is big, and we've had a strong focus on that. But, you gotta, your depth has to be on point, and, I think that there's still some battles just of exactly what it's gonna look like. You're there at the receiver position, who's gonna, we got a really good sense of the kind of the top guys of what that's looking like, but who's gonna also be able to get out there and be able to make the impact within that group, and but I think for most positions it's kind of establishing itself, and on the offensive line I like the versatility. Getting Rizzy back is huge. I think that adds such a great component to the competition, and we're still working to see who's going to be the first five as we kick off there in August, and I know that he's thrown himself right in the conversation, and we got a good battle here these next couple weeks, but I feel good about the depth that we have there, and some of the versatility with those guys as well.
Corey?
We've heard a lot about the Desir twins, obviously, but they're always kind of talked about as like one individual, like the twins do this well, the twins do that well. Is there one that's maybe stood out or does something maybe, I don't even say closer to being ready to play, but what are the differences?
Yeah, I mean, it's, I'd say right now, just they can both do a good variety of things in alignment and where they play. I think, Mandrell, he's one that you talk about like almost exceeding expectations of just the way that he's able to play, whether it's inside or outside, the way that his body can bend and, to fight pressure, to be able to get off blocks. I mean, you really, I've been so pleased with what I've seen from him. Still some things he's got to grow in. Obviously being a true freshman, throughout the course of it. But I'm excited about what that looks like and what it's been. I think Daryl, has been more on the edge, and I think that he can, he'll have the ability to be able to move around on it within the defensive front. But he's very explosive, and you feel him as a pass rusher. You feel him in the way that he chases, plays with physicality. But those guys they are referenced together so much, and there's not a huge separation, but because I think they're referenced together because there are the versatility of what they both can do, and so I'm excited about the potential that they have, but this is gonna be a big couple weeks for them as we get closer to game time.
We got time for two more. Ira?
With getting Landon back, just what kind of freedom does that bring? If you have all those guys, most of those guys available, what does that do for just the options on offense?
It's I think it gives us great flexibility within personnel groupings, where guys are lining up, how they're playing. You look at that position, and with Randy, Amari, Landon, Marquiston, it's really allowed us, even with Chase Lofton, to play him. He's another freshman that I'm huge expectations for, and he's really come along, and so we're even able to line him up at all different places. He's got a great skill set, can line up a receiver if he ever needs to move around. So having those guys have allowed a lot of different ways in how we can put together personnel packages, and I'm really liking what I'm seeing from that position. I love the depth. I love the playmaking and the physicality that they show.
Anything else? All right, thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Mike.